March regular meeting to order. We have roll call, please.
Mr. Chief Executive, it looks like we have 11 present, 1 absent. Commissioner Anderson is excused.
11 present, 1 absent. Commissioner Anderson is excused. Commissioner Michelle, would you lead us in a prayer, please?
Almighty God, we implore you to compel us and guide us this night as we make decisions which shall greatly affect our community of Butte-Silver. Direct our thoughts, words, and deeds so that we please you and best serve our fellow citizens. Amen.
Yeah. Thank you, Brent. We have next is the approval of the minutes of the May 20th, 2020 regular meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. At this time, I'll make a motion that we approve the May 20th, 2020 regular meeting minutes.
Did we get a second?
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded to approve the May 20th, 2020 regular meeting minutes. Is there anything on the question? Will everyone please vote? Anyone wishing to change their vote? Will the clerk record the vote? We only have 10.
Looks like, Mr. Chief Executive, we have 10 yeas, and looks like Commissioner Sorich needs to voice his in.
Commissioner Sorich, how do you vote?
I vote yea. I didn't get the vote screen, but I vote yea.
Okay. Motion carries. We do not have any items not addressed on the agenda this evening. Under Chief Executive Report, I just want to congratulate all the candidates in yesterday's election. It does take a lot of guts to even file for office, so I want to thank everyone that did file, and a job well done to everyone, win, lose, or draw. Now is the time for public comment on any items on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I don't have any letters to read in tonight's record, so we'll give it a second and go to the phone lines.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. There's nobody on the phone at this time, so no
Thank you.
comment.
So then we'll move to bid openings, public hearings, and or presentations. First is presentation, communication 2020-221. Danette Gleason, Finance and Budget Director, requesting Council of Commissioners for time on the June 3rd, 2020 regular council agenda meeting presentation on an alternative method for assessing fees for the county-wide road maintenance districts. Mr. Gleason.
Chief Executive Palmer, Commissioners, for the record, I'm Danette Gleason, the Finance and Budget Director for the City and County of Butte-Silver. Also joining me on doing this presentation is Mark Neary, the Public Works Director. I think Jason is calling up a PowerPoint presentation. So, Jason, if you want to click to the next slide. So the history of the Street Maintenance District was that it was created under Council Ordinance 18-2 in August of 2018, which many of you were a part of creating this Street Maintenance District and removing the other 4 districts that we had for many, many years and combining into one solid county-wide maintenance district. This is codified in Chapter 12.18 of the Butte-Silver Municipal Code and was established pursuant to Title 7, Chapter 12, Part 44 of the Montana Code Annotated. Currently, the method of assessment for the ordinance and the annually adopted resolution is what we call an equal fee assessment to all parcels, which is outlined in the statutes and assessed at which we have to assess at least 75% of the annual work plan. Jason, can you move forward? So when the district was being created, there was a lot of different discussions, several public hearings. It was a long process in establishing the district, and a lot of thought was given by the commissioners, the staff, Chief Executive Palmer, and all those that were involved trying to create the best possible district that we could. But we did run into a few issues, and we were trying to search for some alternate methods of assessment. So prior to the 2019 legislative session, Butte-Silver was limited on the methods that we could use for this particular district. So in the 2019 session, we requested some assistance, and Senate Bill 243 was passed, allowing for the local government to use other means of assessment that are used in similar districts, just not this county-wide type of road maintenance district. And the one method that we were really searching for was this per unit method. It seemed to be what the citizens of Butte-Silver wanted us to really analyze, as well as the commissioners and the Public Works Committee back in 2018 when we were establishing this countywide district. During the past fiscal year, after the passage of the bill in the 19 session, the staff consisting of the Public Works Director, County Attorney, Land Records Department, Public Works Director, the rate analyst that works here with me, assessor, and then some other, myself and some other Finance and Budget Department staff were requested to complete analysis and the potential of moving to this per unit basis. So Jason, if you want to. So one of the main things that we had to establish going to this basis is kind of a definition of what was a unit. So we come up with two different categories. The first category being the residential unit, which is a structure or part of a structure that is used as a home, residence, or a place of sleeping. Example would be like a single dwelling, which is like just a single residential unit, which would be charged or assessed 1 unit. A duplex in this particular scenario would have the 2 units, so it would be charged 2 separate entities of sleeping quarters, so they would be charged 2 units, and then a fourplex and so on would be charged additional units based on the number that was in there. I think there was a lot of conversation at the time when the district was being established in regards to some of the larger apartment complexes and whatnot being assessed only as one parcel. At this time, at current time, $87.71, instead of being charged for all the different units that were in that particular residential complex. So this kind of gathers and gets those units combined, and then allows us to assess on those individual apartments. The business unit is defined as either a commercial entity required to purchase a business license in Silver Bow County, or a nonprofit organizational unit. We kind of had to do this type of a definition for a business unit, because you'll see as we go through this presentation that it's kind of tough to narrow down, and then how we also work with the tax system and the tax billing system and the Department of Revenue in order to move to a unit basis. So for example, with a business unit, what we were thinking is in a mall, for example, a strip mall or a motel or hotel, every business in that particular unit would be assessed a unit charge. So, for example, if we look at some of the motels that are here in our community, that might be the motel itself, they might have a restaurant, they could have a beauty shop, a spa, or a boutique, and in that particular instance, they would have 5 units charged to that particular motel. Also, we looked at storage facilities. And so being that that is one business unit, even though they would have multiple storage facilities within that one business unit, it's still just one unit. And kind of the basis and discussion that we had on that particular item on a business unit was that really, when you're looking at a storage facility, you're not talking about people living in there or cars that are going to be going on our streets. So that was kind of the scenario and the idea behind that. So on the current assessment for fiscal year 2020, under the current work plan that you passed last year, August, the street maintenance fees currently generate a little over $1.575 million. Again, these fees are assessed on commercial and residential parcels with a market value of $5,000 or greater. So the breakdown of the current revenue by street maintenance using the per parcel method is that we have the descriptions of storage units, commercial property, they're called master units. We have 751 of them parcels. In the residential property, we have 13,975. Hotels, there's 22. Mobile parks, there's 39. Apartments, duplexes, triplexes, even dorm units, we have 531. Business condos, 32. And then the vacant land with the market value over 5,000 is 2,609 units. So the total number of parcels today under the per parcel method is $1.575 million or 17,959 parcels. So if we looked, when we did this analysis and we moved over to the assessment based on a per unit basis, the first column gives you the number of units similar to what we discussed on the previous slide, but then it talks about the unit changes when you switch from a parcel to per unit, the revenue generated and the revenue change. So I'm not going to go down every item on the list. You can see that some of them there's no change from going from parcel to units. But when you get down to the mobile park area, you'll see that we jump from the 39, because remember, back in parcels, it's only assessed as one parcel, but when you look at a mobile park, it's by unit. So there's 431 units in all the mobile parks in Silver Bow County. So that's an increase of 392 units. We looked at the apartments, duplexes, triplex, fourplex, dorms. And this is we're at the area where we significantly increase over using the parcel method. We gained 2,208 units. And then on the business condos, we had 100 compared to when you look at the per parcel, there's only 32 business condos. So those are like the strip malls that we have in Tamarack Square and whatnot, where there's multiple businesses on one parcel. So we gained 68 units there. But then the change is going from the philosophy of parcel to units as we lose that vacant land that's over 5,000. So we lose 2,609 units. So from switching from the parcel method to the unit-based method, we're gaining about 59 parcels or 59 units, about $5,100. So in summary, the revenue generated from the street maintenance district on the per parcel approach is $1,575,000 compared to the per unit method of the $1.58 million. So a little bit over a $5,100 increase in revenue. This was a quick presentation. The goal of this presentation tonight mainly was just to show you and then also, upon the advice of the Public Works Committee, probably 7 or 8 months ago, they wanted this analysis to be done. And so we just kind of wanted to give you the information tonight so that you could take this, do some analysis with it, make a decision as to how you would like to move forward or how you'd like us to move forward. The county attorney is also on the phone or on the line, and she can give you the input on how we move forward in the process if you choose to change methods. If you don't choose to change methods, then what we'll do is go through the normal process of holding the public hearing related to the current rates. I believe on the 17th of June, you will get the work plan and budget for the next fiscal year presented to you by the Public Works Department, as well as the progress and what was completed in fiscal year 20. So that's it, unless anybody has questions.
Well, thank you, Danette. A great presentation, and a lot of work went into this presentation by a lot of people, so thank you. And I just want to remind the council or point out that by switching to units from the parcels of ground, there isn't much difference right now. But as people develop the parcels of ground, those unit numbers will increase. While if they did it by parcels, that would never increase unless somebody subdivided for a larger parcel. So this is going to be one that will grow by going unit versus parcel. But I just wanted to point that out. Are there any questions from the council? Mr. Morgan, I can't see everyone, so if you can tell if they're raising their hand or whatever.
Okay, I'll start with me since I have questions, and then I'll go to the others. Ms. Gleason, can you just refresh my memory of how the $87 per parcel was configured or calculated?
Sure. So every year, the Public Works Department under Mark Neary, they submit the plan to council. And that budget is approximately $1.9 million of what the total cost would be. And we moved to funding at the 75% funding level last year, which was the $87.71.
Follow up. So when we add additional units, would that number not go down for the fee assessed for each property owner? Because under our current method, it's $87, and the new method is $87, but there's 5 or a few more units there.
Right. So, Chief Executive Palmer, Commissioner Morgan, you're correct. So if we started gaining a bunch of units, then of course we would be looking at reduction in rates. This presentation here tonight was just for comparison, so you have apples to apples to compare if we went from unit to parcel and what that looks like in a shift. At the next regular meeting, I think June 17th, the Public Works Department will be given their plan for the next fiscal year, and then we'll be looking at what type of rates that would be. I know that we're all in the environment that we're working in will not be recommending any type of rate increase in the Chief Executive's budget. That will not be an increase recommended to council.
But it looks like if we change methods, it might go down slightly, very slightly, but
yeah,
something.
it's a very small number different, 59 parcels.
Okay.
Right now. So that, of course, like you just stated, Commissioner Morgan, that will change over time, as Chief Executive Palmer stated, with new construction. But we're seeing with some of these multiple unit housing, those will change.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
Commissioner Olson.
Oh.
I had basically the same question that Commissioner Morgan did, but he jumped in line in front of us.
Okay, go back to sleep. Any other commissioners have any questions? Commissioner Sorge.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. So what would it take to implement this new method and get the word out for the folks it's going to affect?
Chief Executive Palmer, I'm going to let County Attorney Joyce jump in here because it's an ordinance change.
County Attorney Joyce.
Mr. Chief Executive, Commissioner Sorge. So, as Ms. Gleason indicated, we did pass an ordinance when we changed our method of assessment to equal assessment. So in order to change it to a different assessment method, we would have to amend that ordinance. And also, when you set the rate for what the amount would be paid by each property owner, you have to pass a resolution. And if you change the method of assessment, you do have to have a public hearing as part of that resolution process when you're setting the rate. So it would take both a amendment to the ordinance and a resolution process that would include a public hearing.
Thank you. Any further questions? Commissioner Fisher.
Commissioner Fisher, it looks like you were unmuted and now you're muted. There you go.
Can you hear me now? Okay, thank you. It seems that there's been a lot of work went into this so far,
And I know when we went through this the last 4 years or even longer than that, there's a lot of work went into it then. I don't see in my mind where a $5,000 difference is going to make a lot of difference to have a new resolution ordinance and public hearings to go through at this time, because I think the public is pretty fed up with anything that's going on. I just don't see where the $5,000 or $5,100 difference is going to make a big difference. I think at this time I would recommend to just leave this alone for a few years and see how it works out, because I just don't see it's a long haul for short door in my mind. Thank you.
I would just like to add to that comment that, the reason that we looked at the per unit assessment was because a lot of people have a lot of vacant land out there, and they were paying the fees on each parcel they had. And there were a lot of complaints that somebody in a single family dwelling was paying the same amount as a 32 unit apartment building. And that's why we were looking at it, but it's definitely up to this council how they want to move forward. But are there any other questions? Commissioner Olson.
Thank you, Chief Executive. I guess what I see in that, and that you kind of correct me on this, it looks like we're taking the tax burden or the fee burden off of the empty parcels, and now having the apartment building owners and therefore the tenants pick up that same slack. Is that generally kind of where the balance changes?
Chief Executive Palmer, Commissioner Olson, that's exactly what's happening here. And I think you just have to look at it what you as a council feel is more equitable and how it's assessed out. So is it more equitable to be charging a vacant piece of land, or is it more equitable to be looking at the apartments, the business condos, and then the mobile parks?
Commissioner Olson.
Thank you. Follow up on that. Thinking of it as the road maintenance fee, the empty parcels really don't use the road to any great extent, whereas the folks that are in apartments, whether they're driving their own vehicle, taking an Uber, taking the bus, they contribute to the maintenance burden of the streets. That's, I think, from my standpoint, is a little bit fairer assessment, even though the grand total stays about the same. Thank you.
Any further questions? Commissioner Shea.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I think that the per unit method feels more equitable to people. The people that I have heard from about this, that is exactly how they feel, is that it's the burden is more on the end user than basically just some random assessment. So I do think it's a great idea. And thinking about the future growth potential of Butte-Silver Bow, that is another way that we would also capture dollars. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Fisher.
Commissioner Fisher, you're on mute.
You're mute again.
I don't dispute that it probably is a more equitable way. I'm just thinking that at this time, it's probably not a good time to do this. We had a heck of a fight getting this through the first time, and you can remember the same people we had, the 4 or 5 people that fought us pretty hard on this. And I do agree that it's a more equitable system, but when we're talking $5,000, I think that we've already put that much time in county employees with, Danette and the assessor and the people. We've already put a lot of work into this, and we put a lot of work into the last one. So, I mean, I agree it's probably a more fair way, but I'm just saying the timing isn't right. I don't think so. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? Commissioner Morgan.
Thanks, Mr. Chief Executive. Looking at or listening to Commissioner Fisher, I could see that point as well. For the $5,000 roughly, by the time we add in posting requirements, staff time, that type of stuff, I mean, it's probably easily going to eat that $5,000 mark. So that's something that I think we need to watch and look at. This whole process, though, really does work, because a few years ago or last year when we did this, we knew it wasn't perfect, and we knew that we had to make changes as we start to develop. And this kind of proves that we can start something, and that doesn't mean that it ends there, that we can always sit there and perfect it as things go by. The one thing that makes me think differently on actually changing the process is it is more equitable that way. But for instance, the condos that are being built by the YMCA, there's a new subdivision going in there. I don't know, and Danette can answer this one, are those numbers in your spreadsheet? Because if they're not, I mean, that's going to add quite a few, because if I look at it, last time I drove by there, there's 2 units per block or whatever, and so they would, under the current assessment, they would pay 1 fee, but under this new one, they would probably pay 2 fees because there's 2 living places. Is that correct?
Chief Executive Palmer, Commissioner Morgan, that's correct. In the numbers that we gave you today, a lot of the new condos and multi-units have not yet been fully picked up. I know that Tim Cassidy and Pat Reardon are both out doing these monitoring right now. Because of COVID, we kind of kept them in-house. We didn't really want them out and about. So now they're out looking at the new units. They're also use the building code and permitting process and whatnot to know, but we can't assess the value. We can't assess anything to them until they're fully complete. And so sometimes on a tax basis, that's January to January. So they have to go out and manually look at them to make sure somebody's living in them before they add the fees to them. Because otherwise, if somebody moves into a complex in March and the assessment started in January, most likely that may not be picked up on the tax rolls, but we can pick it up for assessments, for fees. And so those are the ones that they're going out right now and picking them up. And there's several that we know of too as well out behind the Copper King that have been expanded as well. So,
thank you.
Any further questions?
Looks like Commissioner Callahan has a question.
Commissioner Callahan.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the people that had come and spoke, and we had the same ones that came back several times. I think one of their main concerns was that they were paying one of these tax fees on empty lots, and the people with selling apartments and stuff are still paying just on partial. And I think that was, I think this here is what corrects that. And I think that's those people would be happy with this process. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? If not, then we'll move on to the bid openings. We do have 2 bid openings this evening. Communication 2020-206, 2020-207. Do we have proof of publication? You're on mute, County Attorney Joyce.
Mr. Chief Executive, we do have proof of publication for both bid openings, and both are going to be in order, but I think that maybe Jeanette Gleason wanted to say one more thing about that last presentation. Maybe not.
yes, sorry. I was trying to get your attention. Chief Executive Palmer just wanted to add that this ordinance change is a lengthy process, so if any commissioner desires to begin the process of moving to a per unit basis, that we need to start working with them now and have a communication before council that requests this ordinance change, because it does take several weeks to get it in process and in place prior to us putting it on the tax rolls.
Okay, thank you. Good point. Keep that in mind, Commissioner. So we'll go to communication 2020-206. Mark Neary, Public Works Director, requesting council commissioners for time on the Council of Commissioners June 3rd, 20 regular council agenda meeting. Open bids for materials for the Dewey Phase 3 water line replacement. Neary.
Thank you, Chief Executive Palmer and Commissioners. The first bid is from Montana Waterworks and Irrigation out of Billings.
Mr. Chief Executive, there is bid security in the form of a cashier's check in the amount of 10% that appears to be in order.
Thank you.
The lump sum is $77,613.51. $77,613.51. Next bid is from Northwest Pipes and Fittings in Butte.
Mr. Chief Executive, there's a bid bond in the amount of 10% from a licensed surety company that appears to be in order.
Thank you.
The lump sum is $77,777.77. 77,777.77. The third bid is from Corin, Maine in Missoula.
Mr. Chief Executive, there is a bid bond in the amount of 10% from a licensed surety company that appears to be in order.
Thank you.
The total is $74,459.75. $74,459.75.
Did you have an engineer's estimate on that project?
Yes, the engineer's estimate was $87,169.
Okay, thank you.
That's the final bid for Dewey.
Okay, Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. At this time, I'll make a motion that we refer the bids for Communication 2020-206 to the Public Works Department and await their request.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded to refer the bids back to the Public Works Department for a report back to the council. Is there anything on the question?
Question, please.
Commissioner Fisher?
Thank you, Chief Executive Palmer. Since all of these bids are under 80,000, is this a project that has to be bid?
This is just for materials.
This was material only, and the estimate was to be over.
The estimate was over.
We put it out for bid.
Follow up, please.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yes. As my understanding, any bids under 80,000 did not have to be bid out.
But the engineer's estimate was over 80,000, so to be safe, we put it out for bid. We had no idea what the
So
bid.
that's my question. These are all under 80,000, so could we take the low bid on them? Do we have to take the low bid on it? So that's my question.
Without coming back to
Without coming back, yeah, that's correct.
County Attorney Joyce?
Well, I think because we already started the process and put it out and let the bidders know that that was the process that we were going to follow, we're going to have to review the bids and determine which one we think meets all the criteria that was in the bid package.
Thank you.
Anything else on the question? All those in favor, everyone please vote. Anyone wishing to change their vote? Will the clerk please record the vote?
I'm not getting the vote.
Commissioner Sorich,
I vote yay, but I'm not getting the aim to vote tonight.
okay, noted. Mr. Chief Executive, looks like it's 11 yay, 0 nay.
Thank you. Motion carries. Next, we go to Communication 2020-207. Mark Neary, Public Works Director, requesting Council Commissioners for time on the Council of Commissioners June 3rd, 2020 regular meeting to open bids for materials for the Big Hole transmission line. Mr. Neary.
Chief Executive Palmer. The engineer's estimate on this one is $1,247,272. $1,247,272. The first bid is from Montana Waterworks in Billings.
Mr. Chief Executive, there is bid security in the form of a cashier's check in the amount of 10% of the bid that appears to be in order.
Thank you.
Total is $1,972,492.50. $1,972,492.50.
Thank you.
Next bid is from Northwest Pipe and Fittings in Butte.
Mr. Chief Executive, there is a bid bond in the amount of 10% from a licensed surety company that appears to be in order.
Thank you.
This price is $1,951,759.62. $1,951,759.62. Final bid is from Corn, Maine in Missoula.
Mr. Chief Executive, there is a bid bond in the amount of 10% from a licensed surety company that appears to be in order.
Thank you.
The total is $1,979,721.10. $1,979,721.10.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I'll make a motion that we refer the bids to the Public Works Department and await their request.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded to refer the bids back to the Public Works Department to report back to the council. Is there anything on the question? Will everyone please vote? Anyone wishing to change their vote? Will the clerk record the vote?
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. We have 11 yeas, 0 nay. All
Motion
accounted
carries.
for.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to section 2, the consent agenda. A, committee reports 1 through 4, and B, communications 1 through 14. Are there any segregations or friendly amendments? Commissioner Shea? You have your hand up? Sorry. Commissioner Morgan?
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. There was a snafu with the PDF creator, number 13, Communication 2020-235, and number 14, Communication 2020-236. The recommendations were cut off, so I would just make a friendly amendment to concur both of those and place them on file. All attachments were included with the communications, and I would like to just segregate communication number 2, 2020-224.
Any further segregations? Commissioner McDonough?
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I don't have the number in front of me, but it's Communication 2020-223, the check run for the week. We have to add the amount.
That'd be communication number 1. Any further segregations? Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. At this time, I make a motion that we approve Section 2, the consent agenda, A, the committee reports 1 through 4, B, communications 1 through 14, with the exclusions of number 1, 20-223, and number 2, 20-224, with the friendly amendments noted.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made and seconded to approve the consent agenda, A 1 through 4 and B 1 through 14, exclusive of number 1 and 2, with the friendly amendments noted. Is there anything on the question? Will everyone please vote? Anyone wishing to change their vote? Will the clerk record the vote?
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. It looks like we have 11 yeas, 0 nays.
Okay, motion carries. Go to communication number 1, 2020-223. The net police and finance and budget director requesting council and commissioners to review the weekly expenditure approval list for the week of May 27th, 2020, in the amount of $345,977.83, and for the week of June 3rd, 2020, which will be available after 6 p.m. on Tuesday, June 2nd, 2020. Commissioner McDonough.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I make a motion that we add the check run for this week in the amount of $1,284,398.48.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made and seconded to approve communication number 2020-223 with the inclusion of the check run for this week of $1,284,398.48. Is there anything on the question? Will everyone please vote? Anyone wishing to change their vote? Will the clerk record the vote?
Mr. Chief Executive, it looks like we have 11 yeas, 0 nay.
Motion carries. Number 2, communication 2020-224. Todd Breitenfeld Investment, LLC, Bill C, requesting council and commissioners to approve the transfer of a vacant lot addressed at 611 South Idaho, lot number 24 and block 24 of the Trevona Edition, Montana, parcel number 1054300, which Bill C owns as a rental and then immediately will sell it as a nice single-family home. This project will greatly enhance the look of the property, and the property values of the neighborhood. Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. As you will see, my recommendation was to refer to the planning department, and that was mostly because I didn't know where we were going to be at with land sales committee. And so at this time, after following up with it and some of the changes in the meetings, I would just like to make a motion that we refer communication 2020-224 to the land sales committee and hold in the committee of the whole.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made and seconded to refer communication 2020-224 to the land sales committee and hold in the committee of the whole. Is there anything on the question? Will everyone please vote? Anyone wishing to change their vote? Will the clerk please record the vote?
Mr. Chief Executive, looks like we have 10 yay, and Commissioner Mankins just needs to vote or express his vote. He just messaged me that he's having issues. Commissioner Mankins, can you just tell us how you voted on that last motion? He's signifying by yay. So we have 11 yay, 0 nay.
Motion carries. Next, we'll go to section 3, ordinances and resolutions for second reading. Council Bill number 2020-03, ordinance 2020-03. Clerk, please read the title.
Council Bill number 20-03, ordinance 20-03 is an ordinance establishing a new chapter of the Butte-Silver Municipal Code, BSB MC, to be numbered 12.17 and to be entitled Parklet/Pedlet Permits and providing for an effective date herein. Mr. Chief Executive, I'd like to make a motion that we move Council Bill number 20-03, ordinance 20-03 in place on second reading and pass, having been deemed fully read at length.
Second.
And we have a motion made and seconded to pass Council Bill number 2020-03, ordinance 2020-03 on second reading. Is there anything on the question? Will everyone please vote? Anyone wishing to change their vote?
Yeah, I'm not getting the voting panel on the side. Here we go. Thank you. Here we go.
Will the clerk please record the vote?
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. It looks like we have 11 yea, 0 nay.
And motion carries. Number 2 is Council Bill number 2020-04, ordinance 2020-04. Will the clerk please read the title?
Mr. Chief Executive, Council Bill 2020-04, ordinance number 2020-04 is an ordinance amending Chapter 8.02 of the Butte-Silver Municipal Code, BSB MC, entitled Vacant Buildings, and specifically amending sections 8.02.020, 8.02.030, enacting a new section 8.028.040, and amending by renumbering the prior section 8.02.040 to 8.04.050, renumbering 8.02.050 to 8.02.060, renumbering and amending 8.02.60 to 8.02.070, renumbering 8.02.070 to 8.02.80, renumbering and amending 8.02.080 to 8.02.090, and providing for an effective date herein. At this time,
we have a motion made and seconded to pass Council Bill number 2020-04, ordinance 2020-04 on second reading. Is there anything on the question?
I haven't made a motion yet.
Would you please do so?
I would love to. Looks like County Attorney Joyce has a question.
County Attorney Joyce.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. Commissioner Morgan, there just is a couple typos. It looks like when it said enacting a new section 8.028, you said, and it just should be 8.02.040. There shouldn't be an 8 there after the 2.
Okay, so enacting a new section 8.020.040.
And then when it says renumbering section 8.02040, it should be to 8.02050, not 04050. In the very next line.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I would move or ask to place Council Bill number 2020-04, ordinance 2020-04 on second reading and being passed, having been deemed fully read at length, as amended.
Second.
As amended.
As amended. Second.
Okay, we have a motion made and seconded to pass Council Bill number 2020-04, ordinance 2020-04 on second reading as amended. Anything on the question? Will everyone please vote? Anyone wishing to change their vote? Would clerk record the vote?
Mr. Chief Executive, it looks like we have 11 yea, 0 nay.
Okay, thank you. Section 4, ordinances and resolutions, suspension of the rules for final passage. Commissioner Morgan.
Mr. Chief Executive, we have a couple of changes on tonight's agenda. Number 4, 2020-26, we're going to hold in abeyance as we are waiting for some financial information to come in before it's passed. And number 3, Resolution 2020-25, it looks like the caption is wrong. Instead of saying what it says, it's a resolution accepting the determination that the environmental assessment for the Basin Creek Dam number 1 rehabilitation project is appropriate and that the environmental impact statement is not necessary and providing for an effective date herein. So that will be the caption on that resolution. Everything else was attached. That was the whereas portion of that resolution. So at this time, though, I move for the suspension of the rules for the purpose of passing Council Resolution 2020-23, Resolution 2020-24, and Resolution 2020-25 by waiving subsection 7 of Rule 36 of the Rules and Order of the Council of the Commissioners, thereby having it considered for advanced passage without reference to the Judiciary Committee as amended on Resolution 2020-25.
Chairman Morgan, I think there's 3 more on the next page.
Thank you, Commissioner Shaw. I would like to add 2020-27, 2020-28, and 2020-29 to that motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made and seconded to suspend the rules for passing council resolutions 2020-23, 2020-24, 2020-25 as amended, 2020-27, 2020-28, 2020-29 on final reading. Commissioner Morgan. Oh, let's go. Yeah.
I don't.
Anything on the question? Commissioner Olson.
Thank you, Chief Executive. On number 5, Resolution 2020-27, the acronym should be BARSA rather than BABSA. B-A-B-S-A should be B-A-R-S-S or S-A-A. That's just an amendment to that, just to clear that up.
Okay, thank you. Any further on the question? Will everyone please vote? This is on the suspension of the rules. Anyone wishing to change their vote? Will the clerk please record the vote?
Mr. Chief Executive, it looks like we have 11 yeas, 0 nay.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to council number 1, Council Resolution 2020-23. Will the clerk read the title?
Thanks, Mr. Chief Executive. Resolution 2020-23 is a resolution to adopt a detailed preliminary engineering report prepared by Great West Engineering Incorporated for the Basin Creek Dam number 1 rehabilitation project and providing for an effective date herein. I would like to make a motion that I move to place Council Resolution 2020-23 on final reading and pass, having been deemed fully read at length.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded to pass Council Resolution 2020-23 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Will everyone please vote? Anyone wishing to change their vote?
I didn't get a voting panel.
Looks like we don't have a voting panel right now.
Okay.
We're working on it. All right, should have it.
Everyone please vote. Anyone wishing to change their vote? Will the clerk record their vote?
Looks like we have 11 yeas, 0 nay.
Number 2, Council Resolution number 2020-24. Will the clerk please read the title?
A resolution authorizing the submission of an application for the Treasure State Endowment Program funding with the State of Montana of Commerce of the State of Montana for finance improvements for the Basin Creek Dam number 1 rehabilitation project. I make a motion that we move Resolution 2020-24 on final reading and pass, having been deemed fully read at length.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded to pass Council Resolution number 2020-24 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Will everyone please vote? Anyone wishing to change their vote? Will the clerk please record the vote?
We're just waiting on one.
That's me. Sorry, I accidentally closed out on it, but I vote yay.
Okay. That was Commissioner Frederickson. We have 11 yeas, 0 nay.
Motion carries. Council Resolution number 2020-25. Clerk, please read the title.
A resolution accepting the determination that the environmental assessment for Basin Creek Dam Number 1 rehabilitation project is appropriate and that an environmental impact statement is not necessary, and providing for an effective date herein. I move to place Council Resolution 2020-25 on final reading and pass, having been deemed fully read at length.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded to pass Council Resolution 2020-25 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Will everyone please vote? Will the clerk, anyone wishing to change their vote? Will the clerk please record the vote?
We have 11 yeas, 0 nay.
Motion carries. Next, we'll go to number 5, Council Resolution number 2020-27. Will the clerk please read the title?
A resolution requesting distribution of bridge and road safety and accountability, BARSAA, program funds, and providing for an effective date herein. I move to place Council Resolution 2020-27 on final reading and pass, having been deemed fully read at length.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded to pass Council Resolution number 2020-27 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Will everyone please vote? Anyone wishing to change their vote?
It reads Resolution 2020-26.
Yeah. Good catch. So we were actually voting on 2020-27. With the, can you change that, Jason, on the screen?
Yeah, 1 second, Chief Executive.
Chief Executive Palmer,
Yes.
why Jason's making that change, I think that I just wanted to quickly jump in here and just explain the resolution 27, 28, 29. I think we have some new commissioners that might not have seen these before in the past on this BARSA funding. And so resolution 27 is our county share of these road tax funds that we get distributed from the state of Montana, and we have to have a 5% match on them. And then we have to also break them out by projects. So you also have Resolution 28, which is the city portion of Resolution 27 for Hanson Road construction. And then Resolution number 29 is for the Merker Street project, and that's the city portion. Again, we have to have about approximately a 5%, well, we have to have at least a 5% match on these projects. On the Resolution 29, we're allocating a little bit more match funds so that we can complete the whole project. I just wanted to mention that because it's different than how we normally submit resolutions.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go back to Council Resolution 2020-27 for a vote.
Looks like.
Will everyone please vote? Anyone wishing to change their vote? Will the clerk record the vote?
We have 11 yeas, 0 nay.
Motion carries. Next, we'll go to number 6, Council Resolution 2020-28. Will the clerk read the title?
A resolution requesting distribution of bridge and road safety and accountability, BARSAA, program funds, and providing for an effective date herein. At this time, I move to place Council Resolution 2020-28 on final reading and pass, having been deemed fully read at length.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion made and seconded to pass Council Resolution 2020-28 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Will everyone please vote? Anyone wishing to change their vote? Will the clerk record the vote?
We have 11 yeas, 0 nay.
Motion carries. Number 7, Council Resolution 2020-29. Clerk, read the title.
A resolution requesting distribution of bridge and road safety and accountability BARSAA program funds and providing for an effective date herein. I move to place Council Resolution 2020-29 on final reading and pass, having been deemed fully read at length.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded to pass Council Resolution 2020-29 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Will everyone please vote? Anyone wishing to change their vote? Will the clerk record the vote?
We have 11 yeas, 0 nay.
Motion carries. Now it's time for a public comment on any public matter not on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I don't have anything to read. We will open the phone lines and see if there's anybody there. Kathy. Is there anybody there? Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. It doesn't look like there is any phone calls.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Morgan.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded to adjourn. Is there anything on the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Well, thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.